If you clicked on this video, you probably know Tesla, the most famous car company in the world right now, the one making electric cars that have been getting a ton of buzz in recent years. A big part of that success is their huge market share in one of the most promising and high-growth sectors in the world. Today, it's one of the few companies in the trillion-dollar club. But there was a time when Tesla wasn't the giant it is today, and it was on the verge of disappearing 3 different times. In fact, along the way, they ran into a ton of problems. Let's start from the beginning and go in order. Tesla started with 2 guys in California, Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning. They had a different vision for the world. They were part of the group that believed gasoline was a dead end and that renewable energy was the future. They had a brilliant idea, and while others had tried it before, their concept was to create a sports car that ran 100% on lithium-ion batteries, just like the ones in laptops. They figured out how to build a car that could go over 200 miles, 320 kilometers on a single charge, all thanks to lithium. They made Martin the CEO of the company. He saw the project's potential and put together an investment round to raise funds. They launched a Series A round to keep an idea afloat that could be profitable but lacked the capital to survive. With the money they raised, they hoped to build a functional team to help develop the project. Tesla desperately needed that investment to pay engineers and suppliers. And in that Series A round, one person showed up who was incredibly impressed with the company's vision. After that first fundraising effort, Elon Musk came in. He invested $6.5 million of his own cash for financing. Basically, he got 20% of the company in equity. Elon led the round, putting in $6.5 million of the $7.5 million they were seeking, and became the chairman of the board. But Elon got way too involved in the company's development. He wasn't like a normal investor. He wanted to be more like a founder. I mean, to give you an idea, traditional investors try to do as little as possible so they don't mess with the original idea they bought into. They offer some money, contacts, or services. They usually aren't very active in product development or the company's systems. But Elon was different. This guy got involved in every single process right from the start. He was key in attracting new investors because everyone knew him. He helped build and organize the engineering team and develop key prototypes that would later become Tesla's bestsellers. Honestly, it's something few investors would do, and it was for a very controversial reason. Anyway, back to Tesla. After the investment round, Martin started running the company. As the years went by, Elon got more and more involved in design and product cost decisions, and he brought in a lot more investors. But something wasn't right. Martin wasn't managing things well. There were team delays, failed designs, and major strategic differences with what the investors, especially Elon, wanted. During those months, Martin was out as CEO, and they hired other chief executives like Michael Marks and Zeev Drory, but none of them really worked out. By this point, Elon had made his moves and had full control of the board. No CEO seemed to be a good fit for him. A year later, the 2008 financial crisis hit, and with it, a massive crisis at Tesla, which suffered huge losses of its desperately needed capital. Tesla was on the brink of bankruptcy. Martin and Mark were distancing themselves from the company and had written it off as dead. But Elon didn't see it that way. He put his own money into the company's cash flow, completely reorganized it, and kept it afloat. He decided to become the CEO himself in October of that year, and he's been there ever since. They launched their first car that same year. After some crazy long delays, Tesla released the Roadster. It was a sports car that cost over $100,000, but it generated a massive amount of hype. It completely destroyed the myth that electric cars were slow. The car was a technological marvel for its time, but it still wasn't enough. Tesla was still losing money, and Elon's wallet was empty. He had nothing left to give. He had already lost so much on the project since he got involved in 2004, but he wasn't going to let it die just like that. He looked for the most extreme ways to get money. Sadly, during that time, investments and loans were almost impossible to get because of the crisis. But the Tesla team managed to get in touch with one of the biggest car companies in the world, Daimler, Mercedes-Benz. When they met, Elon blew them away. He sold them the future. They decided to invest $50 million. It was an unusual move, but it was brilliant. Then, as an incentive for clean energy, the US government gave Tesla a $465 million loan. But he didn't inject it directly into operations. Instead, he used it to finance the Gigafactory and the development of the Model S to keep new products in the pipeline. With the Roadster, the company achieved some sales stability and had huge potential. In 2010, a year after the loan, they went public, raising nearly $226 million in the first few months. All of that capital went straight into the Model S, which was still in development. They waited 2 years and launched it in 2012. And that was the biggest turning point for the company up to that moment. It was a landmark achievement. A luxury car that could actually compete with the best of its time, BMW, Audi, all of them, with an incredible range, and best of all, it was 100% electric. It won Motor Trend's Car of the Year award. For the first time ever, an electric car had won. In 2015, they launched the Model X and cemented their position as the premier electric car brand, leading to several very good years. They launched the Model 3 in 2017 and the Model Y in 2020. During those years, their brand solidified, and finally, in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, Tesla achieved profitability, generating consistent profits for the first time in 16 years. It joined the S&P 500 and established itself as a true giant. Elon finally did it. He was the one who, even though he wasn't the original founder, worked so hard he even slept in the factory to get the job done. He frantically searched for funding, lost a ton of his own money, and still kept going. Think of it as a success story that wasn't just luck. Musk didn't create Tesla, but he resurrected it. Alright, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. And remember, don't be a scammer.